So yeah, Palworld is kind of insane, taking over a lot of things at the moment in terms of the gaming space. We're just going to hop right into it and talk about this game. I've played it. I actually genuinely love it, and I think it's a great game, except for a lot of the things they're stealing from Pokemon and a lot of other games. That's not great. So we're going to talk about it, talk about why the game itself is actually really cool, but also point out a lot of the issues and the pretty blatant ripoffs in the game. If you're new to the channel, hey, hi, how are you? Hope you're doing well. I typically cover any games I'm enjoying and playing. Recently, that's been Warframe, Monster Hunter. I do a lot of video essays, all the things. But today we're talking about Palworld, because my gosh, what a game, all right? We're going to start with just talking about how the game is actually really fun and really good. It's being marketed as Pokemon, but with guns, which isn't entirely wrong, but the game itself is actually a lot more than that. It's really, I don't know, it's really cool, it's really interesting, and I really, really enjoy it, honestly. It is a survival game where you can build and you can craft a base. You have survival management elements, all of the things. You have to manage your health, manage your inventory, all the typical kind of Valheim, Minecraft-y, probably more on the Valheim side of things, I would say, in terms of a survival crafting game. The base building itself isn't anything complicated, but it's there. It's very cool. I've started building my own base, and, you know, it's a base building thing. It's kind of complicated unnecessarily at certain points, but it's fun. Otherwise, it's just your typical survival game where you can capture Pokemon. I mean pals. And instead of in Pokemon where you just kind of capture them and nurture them and just have them fight for you, you can have them work for you here in Palworld, which again is one of the many controversies of this game, because people, they're like, it's unethical, whatever, right? I would just like to argue that, you know, in Minecraft you can capture animals and have them produce food and things for you, you know. Obviously in this game it's a bit more of a focus and a marketing thing, and the fact that you can give your pals guns and have them fight for you is a bit ridiculous, for sure. But again, it's a game. I personally don't see anything too serious about it. But that's some of the, honestly, just the main aspects of the game. It is a survival crafting game where you can also collect Pokemon and also explore like a pretty vast and interesting world. I will say it's very Breath of the Wild-like, which we will get into later, believe me. But it's pretty cool. A lot of the Pokemon PAL designs are really interesting in their own right. They're really, I think, you know, like if Pokemon didn't exist, I'd be like, wow, this is so cool and unique. But Pokemon does exist, and it's pretty clear that most of these designs are very, very clearly basically ripoffs of Pokemon designs. Case in point, we have this Lamb Ball, which is very much this, just like the sheep Pokemon. I'm not a Pokemon big nerd, I don't know all the names, forgive me. And then you have Krimis, which is very much like an Eevee. And then there's another one that's super similar to an Eevee as well. And then you have this one named Anubis that is very clearly Lucario. You know, I could go on. There's a big like mammoth thing that is Mamorest, I believe it's called, in Palworld. But in Pokemon, it would pretty much be the equivalent to Mamoswine. It's pretty bad. Like, I don't understand how this game was made, in all honesty. Like, I am very, very surprised that Nintendo hasn't just completely stricken this game from existence yet. This game not only is just being talked about a lot, but as of the time of the recording, it's been out maybe like a day and a half, and it has sold over 2 million copies, which is absolutely insane, not only for a game in general, but for a game that is, did I mention, in early access on Steam. Not even full release. It's like a 2.0 release, I believe, on Steam, and it's actually 1.0 on Game Pass, which is where I'm playing, because I did not want to shell out the money for this. It's kind of wild that a game that is in early access has sold over 2 million copies in 24 hours. And not only that, it is in the top like 3 or 4 in Steam charts last I checked, nearing 1 million concurrent players. I think it has had like 800,000 maybe, or super close to that last I checked. Okay, so actually a quick update. As I was recording this video, I saw that the game has surpassed over 3 million copies sold in less than 48 hours, and is the #1 most played game in the world, so I'm assuming that's on Steam. And this is coming from the official Palworld Twitter account, so yeah, wild. Absolutely insane for an early access game that is also like clearly, I don't want to say ripoff, because this game in and of itself has a lot of unique things going for it, but it's because it combines a lot of not unique things from other games. We've already talked about the Pokemon, but there's also like the kind of flying and climbing mechanics that are very reminiscent of Breath of the Wild, as you can see. And then I I don't know if this is also intentional, but I came across this church very early in the game and walked in. There's a statue in the back where you could kind of upgrade yourself or your pals, and it looked very similar to the churches of Marika and Elden Ring. Don't know if that was intentional, but I would not be surprised because of how similar the environment itself is inside this church. And then you also have these main waypoints that you're going to that are massive towers in the skies. Granted, I haven't done them, but I know they're like boss fights, so it's not exactly the same as the shrines in Zelda. But when you even walk across one and discover them, or just discover a new area, this is the little jingle that plays. And if you played Breath of the Wild, you know that is very similar to the sound that plays when you come across a shrine. Like, it's incredibly similar, to the point that I'm like, okay, that is very clearly someone else's homework that's just slightly changed so the teacher won't notice. But we all noticed. And again, I could go into every single Pokemon design that is very clearly ripped off, but I don't have enough knowledge on that. And there's a lot of other people and articles and YouTubers that are already doing that. So I feel like I should not need to do that. Now, even with all of this near copyright infringement, I will say, like I've said, I do really love this game. I played it for a couple hours straight with a friend the day it came out. It's just really fun. It's not only is it fun, it also looks like kind of gorgeous. Like, it looks better than any Pokemon game, which is not a high bar that's been set, but I digress. Because you have all the building, the mon or the PAL collecting, the base building, the survival aspect of it, the exploring, it's just a very fun combination of things. Like when I was playing with a friend, he actually did a lot of exploring, and I was trying to build up and get materials at our base and get the Pokemon to get the PALs to work for you and do certain jobs. Listen, it's not inhumane if you're building them beds and feeding them, right? But like, giving them guns, like that's definitely humane. I mean, they gotta fend for themselves, I suppose. I mean, my Deer here is just having a great time farming all this wood for me. I'm sure it's totally fine. But besides all of that, it is a really impressive package for what the game is. And the fact that, yes, this is an early access game, I was very impressed with how much is actually in here. Like, it's a pretty complete package, often more complete than some AAA games that we see these days. So I really wish that a lot of these Pokemon designs, PAL designs, were actually unique. Like Tim, for example. Like, Tim was a game that did get kind of some flack for similar designs for their monsters. But looking back, it was nowhere near how similar a lot of the designs are here in Palworld. It's pretty shameless, and like I said, I'm very surprised that Nintendo hasn't done anything, and I thought that they would, but because this game has sold so well and done so well, I don't know if they will. Still, again, I'm not going to be surprised, but given the status of this game at this point, we'll see how long it lasts. But I, for one, am excited to be on the ride for however long it lasts, because again, it is quite a great game. Very beautiful, very fun, and having on these little mini boss fights of Pokemon, whatever you want to call them, it's a much more entertaining time than any recent Pokemon game I've played. And I think that's one reason why it's also done really well, is because it has that open world aspect that a lot of people really want to see from their Pokemon games, as well as kind of more survival elements and kind of a challenge that people, especially older players, want to see in Pokemon games, which is why we have things like Nuzlocke and all that, those kind of things. That's kind of all I wanted to say. I want to say I've been having a good time. I totally acknowledge that a lot of this is very taken and very ripped off of other games, and I do not agree with that. I'll enjoy it while it lasts, and we'll see what happens if this game still exists even in a week or so. So let me know your thoughts on the game, if you're playing it, if you're enjoying it, if you're some of the people who are just completely against it, which I totally understand. I absolutely understand. Or any other thoughts on the game. And if you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out. I appreciate it. And if you did enjoy, be sure to stick around for more video essay game analysis content. I've got quite a lot coming up here in the next couple weeks and months, so I hope you will stick around and enjoy. But with that said, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll see you all in the next one.